Hey everybody, it's Surespock with some coding. Yeah, we're gonna look at some code. I am in the middle of building a text adventure game in Elixir. It is based on a text adventure game, Give Me Your Lunch Money, that my friend Daniel Berlin made back in 2009, in which I provided the score for, the music for. It's a really cool game. I'd encourage you to check it out. It was built in the Adrift Interactive Fiction Kit, and I'm essentially porting it over into Elixir. Yeah, so I'm just going to dive right back into it. We'll have an opportunity to talk higher level about kind of some of my goals for this project and such in the future. But yesterday, the other day, where we left off with this was just this is a project I've been away for a number of months. So just looking back through higher level, getting familiar with what was there. We looked at some different modules to sort of see, yeah, higher level what's going on. And I'm going through the commit history now, just sort of looking at how the project has evolved, so I can sort of recenter myself in what's happening. So made all the XUnit async. That was something I did in this commit. I do believe the default might be async false, even though that might be the exact opposite of what I said in the previous episode, if I mentioned that explicitly. Setup all helping a lot, yeah. Oh yes, my objection about the piping. So being a newcomer to being all in on functional programming, and in general being a relative newcomer to programming in general, I sometimes get a little caught up in the way that I think that I should be doing things. And so this was here, and I was just looking that we were creating a lot of local variables and stuff. And wouldn't it be smoother and cleaner if I was just piping these things? Like you can see on 101, 100 to 103 right here, right? Uh, this whole notion of immutability in a functional ecosystem, and I was hesitant to change any variable, and I didn't want to do it. And I was like, well, what do I do then? Because I gotta update my values. So I was naming stuff like location with objects, removed from location with objects, which is not a good name. Not a good name. And this location W objects could certainly be better too. So yeah, was just digging in with that, and that's how things were developing at this stage in the project. Still, just at this point, very new to Elixir and sort of checking things out. Didn't know, for example, that a single quoted string is going to give you a car list as opposed to a string, and didn't understand the difference in sort of implications and behavior in those two different primitives. Still don't really, yeah. Coming along, alias gmylm.world.location, right? Just doing this so that I can call directly a location method, an object function, right? Just object dot whatever. Player data structure and player functions. I hope I change those to just like player struct later. Doc test player, set up right. So in my player test means when this gets run, I will also jump into the player .ex and check if I have doc tests and run those. Yeah, describe this player struct. Yep, player has a location that defaults to nil. I'm not sure. I mean, so I do know why I think I did this, swap the it for player. It's so it would be more explicit, but kind of don't like that here. Yeah, usually you would see like in RSpec, for example, you'd see an it, but I feel like the it would be out here. Anyway, breaking tests is fun. Must have broken some things here. All right, we're sort of fleshing this out. This player thingamajigger. player move north dot location. It's location name move north. Yeah, not a huge fan of some of this. Oh man, that's an informative commit message. Yeah, some code. Want to only try to remove objects if that location has objects or raise the dang error. Con do. If current location on ground is empty, then we're going to return this not found error. Any current location on ground. Right. If the current location on ground is empty, we're going to return this not found error. Cool. Yeah, so location remove object, balloon in the basement. It's going to be error not found, but I'm passing in a basement here. So in this context map right here on 111, which is like all of our setup alls that we were looking at maybe a second ago, if I can find where one was. I suppose I can, whoa, okay. We can just dig into one of these tests here. Ooh, it's pretty. Those icons are pretty. I think that's something I have newly installed in VS Code because I don't remember those being there. Yeah, so these setup alls, you do need to pass whatever it is out. And then if you're going to use that, right, event map here, event map. Event, let's find a thing that's a little bit beefier in terms of the tests it has. Here we go. And in terms of the setup that it has also. So yeah, we're initializing a world here on 15. This sort of caricature of a poop trap, because it's not actually the poop trap from the game data. It's this sketch of a poop trap. It's just got the name, and that's just so we can have some little bit of data that does the thing. Now, why I chose to do this instead of some totally arbitrary or trap which doesn't exist in the game, whatever the case, it's just what I happen to hit on, and I don't like. No, that's maybe okay. So yeah, here on line 18, right? This is what setup all is returning. And it's this map which then we're drawing from when we come down here and we say context, we do a comma. There we go. Here we go. So comma, and we pass in a player from up here, right, from this setup all, right, from this player, which was locally here player in this scope here, and then we're passing it, no, sorry, yeah, so this player, right, on 17, we're scoping, passing in as this player key of this map, and then down here on 119, the context for the scenario, we are passing in the player from that setup all, and we're going to refer to it as player here in the scenario also. So yeah, we just got to pass things down the chain into the context that they're needed, which is something I really love about functional programming. It sort of like for the setup all, it took a little bit of getting used to because I sort of expected it to be handled automatically under the hood. Whereas most other cases, like intuitively, just really wanted the explicitness all the time. But I've gotten accustomed to it, and I see the value in it. Let's put that another way. I see some value in it. I wouldn't claim to have the level of insight into the reasons you would do this as opposed to handling it under the hood that a language designer like Josie Valim has. And I actually ask myself if this is X unit specifically in which case, who wrote that? Or is it handled similarly in Erlang? Obviously, there's a tremendous amount of overlap between Elixir and Erlang, being that Elixir compiles down to Erlang bytecode and is just this Ruby-like syntax wrapper around Erlang in a lot of ways. Oh my gosh, I'm an asshole. Sorry. Whoa, what's with that big white thing at the bottom? What? Whoa, there's me. Wait a minute. I bet I didn't share my screen. I don't think I shared my screen. Well, that's just great. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Yeah, so sorry about that. I have to make a decision as to what I want to do with this video now. I'll probably just leave it, even though the first little bit won't be too useful to folks. So yeah, I've just been going through the commit history here. Got quite a ways to go before we get to the top, so I may start picking it up a little bit. Right, and so, oh, because we must have gotten rid of this direction because we don't actually need to use that in the local scope. And really, it wouldn't make any sense because this north, yeah, we're not going to do anything with it. Well, I mean, we would right here if we were passing that in right here, but that doesn't even really make sense to me. Let's just say north here, north here. It's clear to everybody. Yes, you could have eliminated. No, see, that's not even duplication in this case, right? I mean, it is because it's like north here, and then it's north here. Honestly, I don't see how parameterizing, assigning it right here as direction, right? And then having direction here, it's just it makes it so much more complicated and harder to understand. And like you're doing it for no reason other than you have some gut objection to north being here twice. And that's just not a good practice. I would way rather duplicate. I would way rather duplicate in so many situations and just abstract once, or remove the duplication once I sort of have a firmer grasp of what it is that I want to have happen. Yep. So in this little tuple, passing in a lot of stuff to be dealt with in these things, and apparently broke something in this commit. Breaking test is fun. Yeah, some code. And remove the dang error. So yeah, this is the last commit we were looking at before I realized that, before we then went and looked at some Visual Studio code, and then I realized I wasn't sharing my screen. Raise an error if an object isn't good, right? Everything is green again. No, maybe this is the last commit we were looking at. Anyway. No, the one before. I was right the first time. Yep. So concatenating on 28, or I guess 28 here. Yeah. I'm sorry to bother you. Yeah. I don't know what to do. Yeah. Can I just turn? That was one. No, I know. It's fine. You can leave it with me. Oh, I really wasn't. I guess. But you're the only one who's used it. So I was just going to put it in the dishwasher. Yeah. No, I'll hang on to it for a little while. Okay. Thanks. That's my dad. I did, well, I guess it doesn't much matter. So status removed from location with objects, assert status, basement with balloon removed. Yeah, so this is what I was talking about a couple minutes ago, is I was sort of giving everything these funky names because I didn't want to mutate the reference and memory locally. Mhm, mhm. Yes, so this is a bug. If I didn't hadn't already introduced a bug with this, it would have been a bug, right? It depends on what I was hitting, like if I already had a test that was checking this stuff or not, or some behavior. Yeah, because this is in the test file, so if I already had a test that was doing something with this or not. But right on ground, it's supposed to be a list, and right here, I'm just passing it one of these sketches of an object struct. Again, up from that setup all, which we can't see in here because this is just the diff. But we could go and take a look at that if we wanted to. My inclination is just to move along since I'm sort of taking my time with this. But yeah, so these needed to be listified, which is, you can see being done here on 16 and 17 in the diff, um, just so we would get the appropriate behavior. Ultimately, whether or not we were hitting that in a test at the moment or not, which it looks like, yes, we were. So yeah, those tests should have been failing before this commit, because we would have gone in and would it have been? All right, so YAML for location data. Some here, there's some things in here which, yeah, like these new lines and stuff, which I'd prefer to sort of see a little bit cleaner. Uh-huh, uh-huh. And all these strings that don't need to be there. Yeah, lots of things like that. YAML intermediate transform. Okay, what did I do? Um, Added on ground keys to all of these. These are all maps, or will be maps, right? They are destined to be maps, or whatever. Um, don't need these quotes. They will go in the next couple commits, or at least in the next 15 commits, I would wager. Uh-huh. All quotes must go, or maybe more immediately than that. Um, yeah, so all those are gone. Cool, 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 cool. I almost would sort of like to level all of these, like put hallway, living room, dining room, put them all at the same level of spacing, which I would hope would not ultimately affect how they would get pulled in. Like, I wouldn't want this string of dining room to then be pulled into the map as dining room with an extra space in front of it. So a string of space dining room, and I don't know what the behavior would be. I actually somewhat suspect that wouldn't happen, though I'm really vacillating back and forth as I sort of try to entertain that. Um, Yeah, the basement's not scary. So there's this apostrophe that was missing. Yeah, just data, 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 data. Yeah, so actually, let's make these backyard. So this is going to be a map. That's what this little dash means. It's another map. Uh-huh, uh-huh. Yeah. All right, so Yeah, moved a bunch of things over. Yeah, so this is what I mentioned. This is actually the second time I've done this video. The first time didn't quite work out. Yeah, due to a similar interruption, but it was quite a bit more substantial. Oh, that's good though. It's good. It's good. Name laundry room. Yeah, so formatting I did change. Like I went from 4 spaces to 2. Yeah, um, on these indentations for what will ultimately be these direction keys in the maps that are getting read from this. But I also added these names, so I didn't like this commit message that I didn't that I was changing the data in more than one way and only alluding to one in the commit. Um, let's see, location initialize location. This is a doc test for the locations. Yeah, am hard coding the number here, so that'll need to be changed every single time that I add a location. Which I mean, you can question the value of this test, and you can question the cost of having to change that test every single time you change the game. Um, I don't mind it as a sanity check. Let's see here. Spec initialize locations. Yep, so adding some spec types. These are actually pretty cool. So this is like a list of location structs is no. Yes, a list of location structs. That's what that means. Right, taking an object struct location struct and return a location struct, right, which is going to have in its on ground key in the map the current locations on ground is going to be concatenated on. No. Yeah, the current locations on ground is going to have that object concatenated onto it. Yeah, I don't think I actually use this add object anywhere other than to add objects to the player's inventory, although if there are going to be objects which spawn, I will need something like this. And I will definitely need to spawn objects. Like I'll be able to use this when I am making traps, right? Like you're going to do some kind of checker to see that you have the appropriate ingredients for the trap. And then, yeah, you're going to add the object and then destroy those ingredients. That's the order that I want to do it in, I think, for reasons that should hopefully be obvious. But if they're not, so that, you know, I still have those things around. I don't want there to be a situation in which the trap, the ingredients for the trap could be destroyed without the trap being spawned. Like there should be some fault tolerance there. Though I'm really not sure how much room we have to work with, because it's a text adventure game and kind of an area that's new and exciting and fun for me, and also where there's doubtless dragons, things I haven't thought of. Or yeah, pipey pipe. Oh great, yeah, so that was just me probably responding to Credo yelling at me, and rather than making this function call one argument, just starting with the argument that I would have passed in, and then piping it to the YAML Elixir read from file, and then piping that to this enum.map. And then for every location, I don't know what I think of that, if I think that should be location or if I think that should be map, but this is just a name anyway. And then we're map.merge. Interestingly enough, keys for maps in Elixir are compile time, not run time. So even if those keys on the struct didn't exist, we would be able to schlump them in when we did this map.merge, passing in first the whatever map it is that we're wanting to stuff into, and then the the source map. Yeah. So in this case, the location struct is the destination map. What are we doing? Oh yeah, I added, right. Because I wanted these to all be atoms rather than strings when they came in, and the only way to do that YAML from atoms properly, no, I haven't even done the YAML from atoms yet in this commit. Well, we'll get to that in a second, I'm sure. If that's not in this commit, yeah. It should be in one of the next ones. Write them tests, make them pass. Yep, so object.initialize objects, calling on the object module, the initialize objects function, piping that to enum.count. That should return 47 in this doc test. And when we call initialize objects, yeah, I'm sure you're seeing what I'm seeing, which is we're making two separate calls to this initialize objects things, which goes and parses the YAML and instantiates everything in memory. And then we lose it all because we're going to work with that exact same thing again here. So I don't remember how to do multiple asserts and doc tests, if that's a thing that I've looked at before or a thing that I even know how to do. But anyway, here's that read from file atoms true I was talking about a second ago. That's why we went into that YAML and made all those colons so that we could do that. Change from strings to atoms. Yep. That's what I wanted. And we'd already switched to those strings from car lists earlier because a single quote in Elixir is going to be a car list, single quote wrapped thing. And then we started with this interface.module and this interface.controls, which I'm sure can be better named, and we'll get to it at some point. Change player move implementation. What did I do? Oh, is it just the atom instead? Well, I definitely changed the, oh no, okay. Is this where I started saying, hey, you've got to take in and return the player? Yeah. So when you move, because when you move, you're not changing. So this was what the world was at this state in the development of the code was the world was just a list of location structs. But if your moving does not have any effect on that world. I'm trying to think if there's ever a situation in which you move and it does affect the world, which would be one motivation for having move take in not just a player struct. Yeah, because the player's place in the world is determined by, right now in the current implementation, it's determined by player.current location or player.location, one of those two. So the world, the list of locations, there's no like has player true in there. The world doesn't know where the player is. The player knows where he is. The player knows where she is in the world. Actually, in this case, it is a he because it's an 8-year-old. Wait. Now I'm having this internal debate if he's explicitly gendered in this game or not. I'm pretty sure it's an 8-year-old boy is the hero. I don't think we keep it ambiguous. Like an Undertale. Okay, pipe cleaning. Right. Pipe cleaning. Why would you call that pipe cleaning? Oh, because because in response to this change of atoms true, we're moving this over, and then in the object.ex, yes, in fact, these were on different sort of planes, different alignments, and we fixed that. All right, that's fine. Refactoring gmylm.player move/3. Again, I think we may have mentioned this in the first video in this series, but those slashes in Erlang Elixir are to denote arity. So that is a move function taking 3 arguments. Yep, taking in, right. And this was the stage at this stage. Yeah. So it'll return a function call of these things, which is super cool, and also not the ideal implementation here, in my opinion. And we'll get to an implementation, the more recent one that Steve Grossi helped me hit on, which I'm just so tickled by. I mean, it's so cool. It's like the implementations of it are what really, the implications of it are what really excite me. But we'll get to it. Refactored location tests, added tests for moving up and down, right? Which does happen. That is important. And again, yeah, we'll get to it. It's location name. All right, so we were actually making a less detailed assert here by just saying that the name, rather than that this thing should be a location struct with these attributes, we're just saying that the name should be downstairs bathroom. I'm sure there's a reason I did that. Player in the hallway, yep, passing in again these context maps, which are coming from, and I'm noticing a trend towards having spaces in these maps, which was not happening earlier when I was doing this. So this is seriously my first Elixir project of any size. And so there's a lot I'm learning en route. And yeah, sometimes it's one space and sometimes it's no. And I know Credo's yelled at me about that, and I'm not sure which I prefer, or even actually what the community Elixir standard is, whether for maps, whether you should have spaces or not. Spaces after the curly braces, you know, a space preceding the opening curly brace and one preceding the closing curly brace. Yep, adding a bunch of commas that weren't there. These are all going to turn into atoms, like happy little children. What was that? I can't read it because myself is in the way. That's okay, I'm sure it's fine. Def struct location, yeah, so the default location, yeah. Yeah, so this is what we looked at. It was me thinking this was ugly in the last video in this series. Yeah, we should probably wrap this up pretty soon. Yeah, we're gonna do one more of going through just commits, and like I said in that opening video, it might take a couple of these before I really feel comfortable with, like, I know what this is and where it's going, and like we might take a second for a higher level view. And we'll probably do some stories, which is not something I've been doing in this project up until now, but I do feel it would be useful to go ahead and just so, as a person who struggles with keeping the higher level and the trench level harmoniously synced constantly throughout the span of a project, and having that lack of synchronization cause trouble, let's say, that would be something really useful to help that synchronization between those two levels happen. Would be to go out and even just a Trello board, right? Make up some cards and work from those. You know, it's easy to not want to do it because it seems like work. And this is my side project I'm doing for, you know, my own learning, hopefully the enjoyment of others who are going to get to play this game now. But, you know, also my own enjoyment and development. But I do see a lot of value in go ahead and going ahead and making those cards. Yeah, so this was the first. Anyway, yep. So that concludes today's iteration. Thanks for riding along with me, and I'll see you next time. It's a very exciting ecosystem. Very happy to be here. Hope you have a great day.